Hi everyone, it's Tammy and Data. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be cleaning this date dominated patient data set, and we are going to be doing that using Microsoft Excel functions and features. Okay, so if you are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. All right, so let's dive into it. Now, if you want to follow along, check the description and you're going to get the data sets. Okay, so let's first study the data. Let's see what the data is about. The first one we have here is the first column. We have the patient ID. We have the name of the patient, but here it is de-identified, right? It is represented with codes. Here we have the age, we have the gender of the patient, we have the date of admission, date of diagnosis, date of treatment start, date of surgery, date of discharge, and the follow-up visit dates, as you can see. Okay, now looking at this, you'd see that these dates they're actually really chaotic, and you know how date columns can be in Microsoft Excel. So yes, we are going to tackle them today. Okay, so first thing we'll do when we want to start data cleaning is to perform data quality assessment, right? So that is where we check each of the columns to see exactly what is wrong with this data set. So the first four columns are actually good, so we'll not even bother checking those. So let's start from the date admission. Let's try and notice what is actually wrong with all of these columns, right? And when I want to clean data sets, I try to check for patterns, right? Now, what I mean by pattern is, what is a particular data quality issue that is consistent across these columns, right? Or what do I have in column A or column B that can help me in column C, things like that. So I check for it. So it's easy to actually clean when you check for pattern, right? So what am I going to do? I am going to check each of the columns. So let's look at the date of admission column here first. The first thing I would notice is that they are actually in incorrect format, right? Some are spelled out like this. Some are actually having dot as the separator, some have dash, some have slash, right? There's some, they have the date, the month, and the year, and then the month is actually written in abbreviation, right? Let's go for that. So I still have dots. I basically just have, let's say, 5 different formats, and then I have this one here that, hold on, let me get there. I have this one here that everything is just jam packed together, so we have to figure out how to solve that, right? So let's go on. I'm seeing some dash here as separator as well, so let's keep going. Exactly. Now look at this one. This one has the month, the date, a comma as a separator, and the year. And then we also have some text values here like NA, right? So that is what we have in this column. So let's check for other columns as well. So checking other columns, date of diagnosis, they also have similar issues. And this has dates, some dates stored as serial numbers. You know that these are actually serial numbers, right? Excel actually recognize dates as serial numbers. So can you see this one? This one has dot as well. So I'm already seeing some patterns, right? In these 2 columns that I've checked so far, I can see that they have this, something like this, right? They have something like this, they have something like this, they have this type of format, they have this format, right? So let's keep scrolling. You can see similar format here as well. Let's keep checking. So all of this, can you see this one has slash as a separator, but the month is abbreviated, right? The month name is abbreviated. Okay, so can you see this one also has separator just like the other one, and it also has NE, right? So we are going to do that to all the columns. We're going to check each of the columns just to see what is going on there. It makes it easy for us to know what we are even trying to solve in the first place, right? So I can see the same format here. Basically have similar issues, right? For date of surgery has, these ones here are the correct formats. These ones that are actually like this are the correct format. So Why? Because dates in Microsoft Excel, when you have a date column in Microsoft Excel and you check the filter, you'd always notice that it is broken down into month, day, and year. So once you have it like this, you know that these ones are the ones that are actually in the correct format, while others are not, right? So this one has dash dash stored as a text. Of course, we have question mark here. And look at this one. This one basically has the year written, just basically written as year '03, right? It's not written in full. So let's keep checking. It has a bracket estimated. It has ABC. What's ABC looking for in data? Then we have NA and blanks, right? So let's check for date of discharge. It is important that we check each of them so it's easy for us to tackle, like I said. Okay, so you can see the issues here are similar to the ones that we have. For follow-up visit, it has more estimated in brackets close to date. This one does not even have any valid date at all. You can see everything is just, except for this serial number maybe, but let's see. Can you see? Has similar issues. So this one is even having early February, early June, late March. Hey, how do we solve this? Okay, let's go on. All right, so we have checked our date columns, and then now it's time to solve them. So the first thing I am going to do is I am going to start by getting rid of this text or usual values first, right? Here I noticed NA, right? Here I noticed NA. Here I noticed estimated. Here I noticed ABC and all of that. I even noticed question mark and like a dash dash symbol. So I want to first take care of all those before I even start to work with my dates one after the other, right? So what am I going to do? Since the pattern is consistent across 2 or 3 columns, I am going to select these columns together. So I select the first one, then shift key, select the last one, right? Then I want to deal with them at a go to save me a lot of time. So I'm going to use my Control F, that's my find and replace, to solve all of that. So I'll start with my N/A. Then I would replace with what? With nothing. I'll replace all. The 33 NA has gone. Let them be empty. We'll talk about that later. The next one that I saw was ABC, right? I saw ABC one of the columns. I'm not certain which column it is. So since I've selected all the columns, I'm good to go. Anywhere it is, it will fish it out for me and just make it disappear. So let's type ABC. Remember, it's in small letters. Replace with what? Nothing. I'm replacing. How many are they? They are actually 8. So the next one is I am going to get rid of question mark that I saw in one of the columns. Replace all. Ooh, it replaced all my values. What now? Control Z. So let me try and check for the column that actually has question mark. Why did he see everything as question mark? If you know why he did that, please drop it in the comment section, okay? So I think it was this one that has the question mark, right? This is it here. So let me just select this one. Use my Control F and then type question mark, right? So I want to replace question mark with replace. So let's even find it first. Let's see if it will find it for us. So it's actually seeing everything as question mark. Hey, what do we do? Since it's just in this column, I am just going to use my filter to get rid of it. So I'm going to select this one and this one. I'll use the opportunity to select this one, right? So then I'll click on OK. Look at what I have. So I'll just delete, right? So, oh, I just pressed backspace. I meant to press delete straight up. Delete. Okay. So that has gone. All right. So let's have this back. So I have gotten rid of some of the issues that I saw. Then I think I also saw this estimated and I saw unknown somewhere, right? I saw unknown somewhere. So I'm just going to do the same thing. I'll select all the columns here. Then I want to replace, Control Z, right? So Control F. I want to replace estimated with nothing. See this estimated here, right? It's also in, I think, 2 or 3 columns. So let's replace it with nothing. 5 has been replaced, right? Now the next one is unknown. So let's replace unknown with nothing as well. Replace all, 5 replacements. So with that, we first try to get rid of the obvious text values, right? So we have done that. Now we are left with our date that is looking so messed up. So where do we start from? I will start from this first column, but I want to save myself a lot of time, right? Now what I mean is I have date all the way, and you know that while I was checking, we noticed some discrepancies that are actually very similar across these columns. So instead of having to do it one after the other, I am going to do something. I am going to make sure that all of these have their own sheets so that I can deal with them at the same time. So let's do that. So what am I going to do? I am going to make a copy of this. Then I'll create a copy, right? My target is how many copies? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need 6 copies, right? So I've created copy 1. Then I'll create copy 2. Oh, I didn't create a copy of my data set even before I started. Please do that if you're actually following along. Okay. So I need 6, right? So I'm creating copies. Yes. So now I have 6 copies, right? So let me just add one more copy so that would be my original data now. So I can always go back and make reference to it. So let's make this sheet 1 our original data. All the sheets are temporary, by the way. We just need it to actually solve the problems at a go. So what am I going to do? What I need only is I need each one to have each of the dates. So I don't need the extra data here, at least for now, right? So what am I going to do? I am going to select everything at once aside from the original data, right? So I'm going to select sheet 7. So how do we start? I'll press my shift key, select sheet 1, sheet this, everything at the same time. So I have selected everything. So whatever I do now would apply to all the sheets. So what I want to do first is I want to get rid of this first few columns. I don't need them now. So I'm going to select all like this. Then I would right click and delete them. Right. So I have deleted them across this sheet. So I'm going to press my shift key and just select one sheet so that everything can be deselected. So I've done that, and now I'm only on sheet 7. Right. I am only on sheet 7. Now for sheet 7, I only need the first right? I only need the first column. So I'm going to select B to D and I'm going to get rid of that, right? The reason why I can't do that while I've selected everything is because I do not need the same date column across this sheet, right? I need each of them to have their own individual date column. So the one that I deleted were the first 4 columns that I actually do not need in their individual sheets. I hope you understand. Okay. So the next one, I am going to remember that this sheet 7 already has date of treatment start, right? Sorry. Sheet 7 already has date of treatment start. Okay, so sheet 6 will have what? Date of surgery. So I don't need this. I don't need this. I don't need this. Okay, so I'm just going to delete. Now I have only date of surgery here. So I'm going to do the same thing here to just make sure that each of them have the unique column. So here I don't need what? Date of treatment start, date of surgery, and I also don't need follow-up visits. Then I'm going to delete. So I'm just going to do the same. So I'm going to delete. Can you see? So I'm just going to do the same for all the sheets. So sheet 7, I have date of treatment starting from here. Oh, I just realized that I deleted this alongside the columns that I deleted. I actually need this. So let me just get this quickly. Let's just get this quickly into sheet 3, right? So we're just going to delete this. Then we'll get this into sheet 3, right? Again. So copy. So let me just copy both. Control Shift. Just going to copy both. Then paste it here and paste it here, right? So this one, let me paste it here. So I'm going to delete these ones. I don't need these ones, right? So here what I need is date of diagnosis. Here what I need is date of admission. So this one should be the first two, right? So let's just name this sheet 2. This is sheet 3. Sheet 3. I actually don't need to name them, but I just want it to be clear so it's easy to trace. Sheet 4. Is this meant to be sheet 4? No. This is the last column. So I just want to arrange them based on the way the columns are actually arranged in the actual data. So we have date of admission first, which is here. We have date of diagnosis, which is the second one. Date of treatment start is going to be the third one. So let's just make this sheet 4, right? Date of surgery here is going to be sheet 5. Then this is meant to be sheet 6. Oh, sorry. Control Z. So this is meant to be sheet 6. I mean, I said sheet 6, right? Then this one should be sheet 7. So now it's easy to trace to say, okay, this is the first date column, second date column, third date column, and so on. So whatever I do now, I'll be applying it across these 7 sheets. You know that I already know the similar data quality issue that they have. So I'm going to tackle them at the same time. Then once I'm done with that, I'll check them one after the other to see if there are actually any discrepancies that I was unable to deal with together. Then I will tackle them one after the other. So the first thing we need to ask ourselves is, how exactly does Excel see a date value? How does it store a date value? It stores it as month, day, and year. So that is our end goal at the end of the day. We want it like this, MM/DD/YYY. Why? So anyone that does not look like this is not a valid date. Do you understand? That is exactly what we are aiming for. So it's easy for us to know what we are aiming for. Okay. Why did sheet 2 come here? Let me take this back. So I'm just going to move this. I just left click and then drag to where I wanted to move it to. Okay. So this is sheet 2, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to use the date value function for this. The date value function will check for dates that are stored as text or that are written as text in your column, and then make sure that it is actually expressed as an actual date. That is what the date value will do. Now, what I want to use the date value function to do here is that I want you to check this column for me and check for values that are actually meant to be dates, but maybe just a tiny little issue is what is wrong. So Excel can actually identify that maybe the separator is not just okay, or maybe the way it is written is not just okay, but Excel can actually convert it to a date. It is stored as a date text, but Excel will make it an actual date. That is what the date value function will do. Mind you, it will only work for dates that are stored as text. It will not work for an actual date value because it's already a date, so it will return an error for us. Now, it will return an error for 2 things, for 2 categories of dates. Number 1, the one that is actually stored as dates, right? And number 2, the one that Excel does not see as a date text. Remember that date text is what we are going to be dealing with this function. The reason why I'm explaining is because we actually need those errors to do something else so that when we do it, it's easy for you to understand, okay? So remember that I want to apply whatever we are doing across this 7 sheets. So I'm going to 6 sheets. Okay, this is the first date, this is the second date, this is the third date, and so on and so forth. So the first thing we are going to do is we want to make sure that we select everything. So I selected sheet 2, then I'll use my shift key, select the other sheets like this. You understand? So now let's use our date value function so you see what I'm talking about. So if I use the equal sign and I say date value, can you see, convert a date in the form of text to a number that represents the date in Microsoft Excel date time code. This number, what it means is a serial number. Remember that I said Excel sometimes store dates as serial number. So it will check for dates that are stored as text and then convert it to an actual date. So let's go on. So we'll type our date value, select it. What is the date text? This one. Then we close the bracket, click enter, and then apply it all the way down. Okay, there is an empty cell here, that is why it's not going down. So let's drag it. Right? Then let's double tap. So let's see what has happened. There are still some empty cells here. So let's just drag. So I'll just select this and drag. Where are we stopping? So I've dragged it. So I've dragged it here. Now what has happened? The ones that are stored as date text, something like this is a date, but it is stored as date text. Excel has picked it for us, converted it to what? Converted it to date value. This one, for example, that has a dash is either of two things. Either this is a valid date in Excel, or Excel does not see it as a date text at all. That is why it is returning error for us. This one, Excel has seen it as a date text. That is why it is returning a valid date for us, which is in form of a serial number. This one has dash as a separator, but Excel already sees it as what? A date text, and it has converted it to an actual date for us. Same with this one, it has been converted to an actual date. So anyone you see that now has a number was initially a date text, and Excel has converted it for us to a date. Anyone you see that is error now is either of two things. Either Excel already sees it as a date initially. Date value would not work for it. Remember that date value only works for what? Date text, not for valid date, right? Or it is actually not seen as a date or as a date text at all, and it is left for us to now tackle it. I hope it is clear. Right, you can see this one, for example, 15 September 2024. Excel has converted it to a valid date. Now, the next thing we are going to do is, I want us to convert this to a date and see how it actually looks. So let's convert it to a valid date, right? So we just use our format, then we pick short dates. What do you see? These are your dates. This is what you are aiming for, because this already has what? DD, but others that have value error, we need to tackle them. Now, what do? The first thing we are going to do is we are going to actually try to tackle the actual dates values in this column, so that we would even know which one is left for us to focus on, right? So how do we do that? We are going to embed this in the if error and text function. Now let me explain. We have some returning errors, right? And what we want to do is we want to say, okay, if this is returning error, then I want you to help me convert it to a proper format. If it's returning error, I want to assume that it's an actual date value, right? The ones that are not actual date value or do not even fall in the category at all, that one we'll deal with it later. But first, let's deal with the one that is actual date value. So we're going to say that if this is an error, if this is going to return an error for us, what should you do? So if error, the value is what? This one, right? So what should you do? If error, then return text. We're going to use the text function, right? Open the bracket. What is the value? This one. What is the format text? Return this dates as what? MM/DD/YYY. Then we close the brackets. What did we do? Date value is meant to return a date. if it is stored as a date text. If it is not stored as a date text, it will return an error. So we are not trying to take care of that error in advance to say, if it's going to return an error, oh, my dear Excel, just check, just convert whatever you see here to a date format and make the date look like this, MMDDYY. So what is it going to do? Okay, it should be YYY. Why? So what is it going to do? It is going to check for the ones that are actually dates. So this is going to help us take care of the ones that are actually dates and make sure that they are expressed in this format. Do you understand? So if I click enter now, then I use my drop down all the way. What happened? What happened? Now let's see what happened. Some actually have now been converted to an actual date. Let's see how it looks before. Right? These ones were actually value error. These ones were actually value error. These ones were actually value error, right? So now that we now added this, some of them have now been what? Some of them have now been actually written like this, right? Then empty values have returned the default date value. Now some, nothing happened to them, Odeshi. Can you see? They still return the actual same thing, and these are the ones that will not tackle. But currently, we've already been able to tackle what? We've been able to tackle the ones that are stored as date text and the ones that are actually stored as a date. So all these ones that are like this, are the ones that would now take care of. Do you understand? Now, let's check on our other sheets, okay? Remember that this is sheet 2. So let's check sheet 3. Can you see how sheet 3 looks? The same thing we did on sheet 2 has now been applied to sheet 3, sheet 4, sheet 5, sheet 6, sheet 7. So you see that we do not even have to go to click on column one after the other and start solving them one after the other. We did everything at a go. Okay, when the needs call for it, we are going to work on them separately, and that would be much easier by then. Okay. So now, which ones are now the valid dates? These ones that look like this are the valid dates. These ones that look like this, are the valid dates. Do you understand? So there's something I'm going to do. I'm going to use this to take care of the ones that have dash as the separator instead of slash, and the ones that have dots as the separator instead of slash, so that I can reduce the values that I have to tackle later. Okay, so what am I going to do? I am going to change this separator. So the slash that will be the same format as the others. So what am I going to do? I'm going to select the very first column that has the original date of admission, not this one. I'm going to go and deal with it from the source. So I am going to change the separator from what? From dash, remember, to a slash, and from dot to a slash. So I'm going to select the first one, and I'm going to use my Control F, right? Then I am going to click on dot and replace it with what? I'm going to replace it with a slash. Then I'll replace all. So it has done what? It has replaced all 73 values that have dot with slash. If you notice, they are no longer here. Can you see there's no dot here again? Let's check on sheet 3. Okay, we have to close this window. Or has it selected sheet 3? Okay, he has. So can you see? Dot has gone. There's no dot here again. Sheet 4, dot has gone. We've replaced everything. Right? Now, let's go back to sheet 2. Remember that everything is still selected. Can you see? They are all active. So whatever I do here would apply to this one. Do you remember? That is the end goal at the end of the day. So we've replaced dot. So the ones that actually have dot now, they have been replaced with what? Slash. So this function that I have done here would have been applied to it. They would have been applied to it. So let's do Control Z so that we'll see what we are talking about. Control Z, right? Which one has dots? Look at this one. 6.06.06.2023, right? And then we replaced it. So let's do Control Y to redo what we did. Control Y. Can you see? It has replaced. It has been replaced with what? Slash 6/6/2023. This one now becomes what? 06/06/2023. We've solved that problem. The next problem is the what? Is this dash. We want to change this dash to what? To slash, so that these ones can actually be also affected, right? This one also add dash, but Excel recognized it as a date text, so it has already picked it up. But we are going to solve this ones, right? So we're going to select this one again, Control F. So let's replace dash with what? With a slash. So let's replace all. 256. 256. Wow, there were a lot of dash. Okay, so let's check on our data to be sure that we've not done some mago. So let's check. Okay, so this one is actually stubborn, but then Excel already picked it. So let's go on. Let's check on our data. Let's check sheet 3. Okay, we're actually on sheet 3. See, this dash, this underscore here already tells us that this is the active cell. So let's go to sheet 4. Let's check on it as well. So let's see what is going on. You see that it's looking cleaned little by little, little by little. It's getting cleaned little by little, little by little. Okay, so let's check on this one. Let's see. This one is even this one, it does not even have strong get. See as it's just looking clean. In fact, this one is almost clean safe. You get. So let's check on 6. 6 is a little bit stubborn. It still has a lot of errors, but our dash, whatever dash that was here, has gone, right? So let's check on sheet 7. 7 is not looking bad as well. So what next? We have done that replacement. Let's check on what else is giving us issue here. So before we go on to actually start to extract the left, the mean, and the right, just so that we can get our date for those values, let's first try to check if these errors are actually stored as errors in Microsoft Excel. So we're going to use the isError function to do that. So we want to check if this is error. So if it's an error, it will return true. If it is not, it will return false. Okay, so let's click enter and then let's double tap. So let's check what happens. So if we scroll down, let's look at the ones that have error. You can see they are returning true. Okay, so this value error is actually what separates this type of formatted date from the others, right? So we want to say that if this is actually an error, we are going to use our function, our if function, to say if this is actually an error, then what should you do? You should go and extract the left of this value for us. This is where the criteria is, and this is where we want to extract value from for those that actually meet the criteria. So we are saying if this is an error, and remember that the if function works with what? True or false. So if it is true, that means if this is returning true, then what should you do? Go and extract the left, which is the year for us, right? So if it is true, extract left of this. Then how many characters? We want 4 characters because there are actually 4 characters, right? Then we close the bracket for the left function, close the bracket for the if function, and click enter. So this is returning false for us because it does not meet the condition. But I don't want us to just be saying false like this. I want us to have value if false. So instead of it returning false, we would say return empty cell. So we're just going to do open quote and close quote to signify empty cell. Then we click enter. So this is empty. If we double tap now, what do we see? Let's scroll down. So we can see that the year has been extracted for us. Can you see? Neatly extracted for us. Let's check on the other sheets to be sure. Okay, look at it. They have been extracted. They are cooperating. Look at this. Very good. Let's check on the others as well, just to be sure. So let's check on them. This one does not even have that issue, so we are good. So sheet 6, what's going on here? Extracted. Okay, so the year has been extracted for us. Very good. Okay, so now that it has been extracted, let us name this as year. Then we're now going to do the same thing for the month and the day. Where does the month lie? The month lies where? Let's see. The month lies inside. So this is the month, right? The month is inside. So we are going to use what function to extract the month? We are going to use the mid function. You know, the mid function extracts values from the middle of your, the mid function extracts characters from the middle of your value, right? So we are going to now use the month here. We're going to type month here. So you are basically going to do the same to say if it's an error, then extract the mid instead. So let us just go and copy this here, this part that helps us check whether it's an error or not. Then we just type it in here. If this is an error, then what should you do? Extract the mid for us. So mid, right? Then what is the text here? Where should you start from? You should start from where the year ends. Where does the year end? Let's check. It ends on the 4th one. So you should start from where? From the 5th, right? Then how many characters should you extract? You should extract 2. Start from the 5th, extract 2. So we are going to type in 5 as the start number. Then what number of characters is it going to extract? We are going to type in 2. Then we close the bracket. Okay, value if false, just return empty for us, don't bother. So if we double tap, let's see what we have. We actually have our months. Can you see? Now the next one is the day, and the day is where? The day is actually the last 2 characters. So we are going to use what function? You're correct, the right function. Okay, so let's extract the day here. So again, we are going to add the formula that checks if it's an error. If it's an error, what do we want to do? We want it to extract the right for us, right? So extract right, open bracket. This is the text, right? What is the number of characters? It is extracting 2, the last 2 characters for us. Those are the characters that make up the day, right? So if we close the bracket, value if false, just return blank cells. Okay, so let's double tap and see what we have. Neatly done, nicely done. Okay, so we are getting there. So the next thing to do is let us now combine it into a full day so that it can look like what we actually want, which is this, right? So we're just going to type in date here. So use the date function. You know, the date function asks for what? Year, month, and day. What is the year? The year is here, right? What is the month? It is here. What is the day? It is here. Now this one is currently empty, so it will return empty values for us. But the one that has value will return a valid date for us, and which is what we are looking for, right? So let's close the brackets and click enter. This is returning value error for me, and I don't want to see that error, I beg. So let's just use if error to take care of that. So we say if it's going to return an error, then what should you give us? Just give us empty cell like this. Then let us double tap. What do we have? What do we have? Ta-da! We have our full date. We have our full date. We did it. Okay, so let's check on the other sheet to be sure that they got the memo. So let's go to sheet 3. Yes, okay. Sheet 4. Let's check. Let's check. Very good. Very good. Sheet 5. How about that? Let's see. Okay, sheet 5 does not really have anything like that, so we're good. Sheet 6. Sheet 7. See the benefit of having to highlight everything and doing all at once rather than going through each of the column one after the other. So we have that now. So what am I going to do? I am just going to combine it together. So remember that these are my dates, then this one is the only one that is returning value. I can say that rather than saying that if this is value again, I can just use this. I can just say if this is empty, then return this, right? Otherwise return this. What I'm trying to do is I want to bring everything into one single column so that I can now deal with any other issue on that same column. Okay, so what am I going to do? I want to say that if, okay, let's put it here. If this date is what is empty, is equals to empty cell like this, then what should you return? Just give me what you have here. This is my original value, right? Otherwise, give me this. That means if it's empty, then that means if it is not empty, then give me what you have in F2. Then I close the bracket and I click enter. Then if I double tap, let's see what we have. So my actual date I've returned valid date, but now it's serial number. I don't want it to be serial number. I want it to look exactly like this. So let's deal with the format. So let's just say, instead of saying that, then give F2, just say give text, right? Then what is the format? MMDDYYYY. Okay, so let's close the bracket. Then we click enter. So that should be taken care of, I believe. Yes, it has been taken care of. Okay, so we now have a single date column that would work with moving forward. So since I already have that, I don't need all of this anymore. They were just, means to an end. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it as values so that I do not have my underlying functions or formulas again. I'll just have the values naturally, right? So I'm just going to right click and then I'll paste as values. So I'm going to pick this one, shift pick this one, and then just get rid of them. So this is what I have. I have just a single column here in sheet 2, sheet 3, sheet 4, sheet 5, all the way. I just have that single column. Okay, so now let's now go ahead and deal with other issues. So what other issue can we identify here? I can identify this one actually. So what happens here? This one has the month, has the day, then has the year. But it is not exactly written the way Excel would love it to be written. So we want to make sure that we convert this to look like this, right? That is what we want to do. And what I'm thinking is, let us extract the year. The year is by the right. The day is in the middle, while the month is at the left. But the only issue with the month is that the month actually is spelled out in text. So we have to think about how to deal with that. But before we get there, let's first extract the year and the day. So how do we extract the year? So we are just going to use year. Let me just type year. Then I'm going to use my right function to extract the year. Okay, I know that I'm trying to add a formula here, so it is going to apply to every other record. So I want to make sure that I try to make this distinct from others so that it will only apply the function to this one and then leave others out of it. So what exactly is here that is not in the other dates? Very obvious. We have a text value at the first part, then we have a comma. So that comma is actually what I'm going to use as the unique point. And of course, this type of data or this type of date value can also be in other sheets as well. That is why we are using function, so that it can be applied to every other issue, every other similar issue in the other sheet as well. Okay, so what am I going to do? Let's extract the year. So I'm going to say that if this contains a comma, if it contains a comma, then that is when you should do what I'm about to do. That is when you should extract the year, because I honestly don't need to extract the year for others. I'm good with them, right? So I just want to say that if it has comma, then extract the year by the right. So how will I ask if it has comma, or how will I make Excel check for comma? I'm going to use a function called the find function. So I'm going to use that find function to actually check if there is a comma in this value. I want to find a particular character in this value. So let's type in the find function. Right now, what am I looking for? I am looking for a comma, so I'm going to put it in quotes, comma, right, where within this text, right? Now it's asking where it should start from. We don't need to specify that, so we're just going to close it and click enter. Now this is giving me value error. Why? Because it cannot find comma there, right? What about the one that has comma? It's giving me 9. That means it has seen comma here and then it has returned 9. So I have used that to check for whether it has comma. So if it has comma, that is when you should apply this value, right? Now, how do I go about this? I have to actually use the if function. Remember that the if function needs a logical test, and the logical test should either return true or false. The find function is not returning true or false. It is just returning the position, which is what, 9. So if function might not be able to read 9 or read number as true or false, we need something that will actually tell us that this is true or this is false. How do we do that? We use the is number function. So the is number function actually checks whether a value is a number and return true or false. Remember that the if itself needs what, true or false. We are using this is number to return true or false. So if find returns a number, then it is true. It will return true. If it does not return a number, then it will return false. So we are using this is number function to do that. So let's close the bracket and see what I'm talking about. So if I click enter, what does it return? False. The ones that have number, what does it return? True. Are you following? Now, we have used this is number function to what? To return true or false. Now, we'll now use the if function to say if this is a number. Remember that this will be returning true or false, right? If this is a number, what should you do? What should you do if you can find comma? Then extract the right for me. So value if true, I would now say comma right. What is it extracting? It's extracting from here. Or where is it extracting? It's extracting from here, right? What is the number of characters? It's extracting 4. Do you understand? It's extracting 4. So we close the bracket. Then value if false. That means if it does not find comma, just return empty cell for me. That is what I have done. I click enter. This is empty. Why? Because of course it is false. So if I double tap now, what happens? This has given me 2022. Clean and perfect. Are we together? That's given me 2022. The next thing I want to do is, okay, let's check on our other sheet as well. Can you see? They have extracted it. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to extract the what? The day. Let's extract the day first before the month. I want to extract the day. And of course, the same thing, we are actually checking for the same criteria, which is what? Comma. So I'm just going to copy this to say if it finds what? If it finds comma here, then I want to extract what? I want to extract the value in the middle, which is 31 in this case. Are we together? 31 in this case. Now, find, okay, so if it finds this, what should you do? Extract the value in the middle. What do we use? We use the mid function, MID. So the first argument is the text, which means what? Which means where are we extracting the mid characters from? It's here, right? So we select this. So the start number, which is where should it start counting from? So that it will know where to start picking the value from. So I want to pick what? 31 in this case, right? That I can easily come here and say, okay, let me count April, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I say start counting from the 7th number. But what if other sheet has September, October, November, right? It won't be dynamic because I've counted this and I've encoded it to say the 7th. Then if it's September, it's probably going to pick from P or E or something like that. So I have to make it dynamic. So what do we do? I'm going to tell Excel that go to the very first space, right? When you go to the space, find the position of the space. What function is that? The find function. Remember that the find function returns a number for us, and that number represents the position of that particular character that you are looking for. So we are going to say, go and check for space. When you find a space, then start from the next character after the space. So it is dynamic that way. So if it is September with a space, it will check for space after September, then pick the next number, which is the day that we are trying to extract. Do you understand? So we are trying to check for start number, and then we are going to first try to find the space. So let's use the find function. What are we looking for? We are looking for the space. So space so the way we would enter space is we'll type in open quotation, space, then close quotation. So where? Check it here, of course. Where should this start from? We don't need that for find function, right? So let's just close this one. Now, we told Excel to what? To start counting from the position of the space. But we don't want it to start from the exact space. We want it to start from what? One number after the space, or one character after the space. So after the space would be, so that's one character after the space. So I'm just going to do, when you find this space, when you find the position, which is going to return a number, just add 1 to it. So we're going to do +1. So what is Excel going to do? Excel will go here, look for the space, add 1, then start counting from here. For example, if the space is 7, Excel will start counting from the 8th character. If the space is 9, Excel will start counting from the 10th character. So that is how it works. Okay. So then number of characters. How many characters do we want to extract? I want to extract the character after the space only. But this one has 2 characters. So I can easily come here and say 2. However, what if other date format like this one actually has just one day. Let's say they don't have 05, they have just 5, or they have just 6, and here I already had coded 2. It might not give me the day the way I want it. It might just give me maybe 5 with an S, 5 with a comma, or something like that. We have to make it dynamic. What do we do in this case? Now, where does this day lie? The day that we're trying to pick. It lies between two separators. It has space before it, right here. Then it has a comma after it. So even though it is 5, it will still be something like April 5, comma, or September 5, comma. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, Excel, find the position of the space plus 1. Find the position of the comma, and then subtract the position of the space from the position of the comma. The number that you get is the number of characters that I want to extract. That's exactly what I'm going to do to Excel. So what do? Let us first find the position of the comma, right? So find comma, where? Within here, right? Then it will give me a number. So it's going to find the comma, right? Minus what? Minus find the position of space. We are trying to find position of this comma minus position of the space, right? So minus find position of the space, find open bracket space, where? Here, right? Then we close the bracket. Remember that we have to do what? We have to add 1 to the space so that it's going to start. So it's going to start counting exactly from the next character after space. So we are going to say find the position of space plus 1, the way we did here. Do you understand? So let's put this into a bracket so that you can actually see it as an arithmetic operation on its own. Then we close the bracket for the mid function. Right? So we have closed that. Then close the bracket for the if function. So the way I trace the bracket is, you notice that find has some kind of purple color. Right? You notice that find has some kind of purple color. Then mid has some red color. Then if function has what? Has black color. So that is how I was able to trace the bracket. So I click enter. This one is returning false because it does not meet that criteria. So let's take care of it. We don't want it to return false. So let's just say value if false, return empty for us, right? Empty cells. Click enter. Then we double tap. Let's see what we have. Do you see what we have? This has now given us 31. Now, if we do not come here to add plus 1, it's going to start from here. It's going to start from this space, then give me 3 characters. It's going to give me 31, then comma. Do you understand? Because the comma is in what position? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9, comma is 9, right? What is space? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Space is what? 6. So if it is 9 minus 6, it will give us 3 characters. So it will give us 3, 1, and comma. Do you understand? But when we added 1 to the space, that means it's going to be what? 7 and 9. So 9 minus 7 will give us what? 2, which gave us 3, 1, 31. I hope it's clear. So have I dropped it down? Yes. Okay, so we have done that to extract the day. The next thing to do is to actually pick the month, which is a little bit tricky. Now, how do we do that? Let's first start by typing month here. Okay. Now, for the month, we want to actually extract the value on the left. Of course, we'll add our criteria formula. So let's just copy this, the one that checks whether it has a comma. Remember that we are still working with this same kind of format. Don't forget to, okay? So let's add this here. So, okay, let's close this. So what should you do? Value if true. We want to extract the value from the left, right? And you know that for other sheets or other times, it might actually not be just April. It might be September, October, November, December. So we actually want to make it dynamic, right? So that it's not just, we are not just typing in a particular number that we assume April characters to be, right? We are not just saying, okay, extract 5. I'm just saying extract 6. So first, let's even type our left function first, right? So this is the text. What is the number of characters? Now, the number of characters we want to make dynamic, like I said. So we have to first find out where the space is, the first space is, and then tell Excel that anything before that space is what I want it to extract for me, right? So that if it is September with a space, it will extract September. If it is May with a space, it will extract May. That is what we are trying to achieve. So let's first use the find function to find the space, right? So we are looking for the space where here. I remember we want what? Anything before the space. So if the space is in number what? Let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 6. What do we want? We want from number 5. So we want to count what? The first 5 characters for us. If it's a space, if it was May, the space will probably be like 4. So if we do 4 minus 1, it will extract for the first 3 characters. That is the goal. So we are just going to do find this. It will return a number. Do you remember? Then plus what? No, sorry, minus 1, because we are saying before the space, not after the space in this case. So extract that. So value if false, just return empty. So let's close our if function, then click enter. So if we double tap, what do we have? What do we have? What do we have? What do we have? We have April. Yeah, I hope you understand that we're able to extract April. We look for the position of the space after the month name and then deducted 1 from it, so that it's going to be the space number or the position of the space number minus 1. Okay, now we have April. So if we use the date function to say, okay, date, we now picked the month, the year, and the day, it might not exactly work. Why? Because April is still spelled out as April. So we want to convert this to what? We want to convert it to the month number. So it will return what? It will return 4. How do we do that? Now, what we want to do is we want to add 1 to April. We want it to be like 1 April, like 1st of April, so that Excel will recognize it as a date. Now let's do that before we move further. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So I want to do 1 and the left. Remember, the left is giving us what? All of this is giving us April, May, other month name as the case may be, right? So we want to do 1 and this. So we want to concatenate it with 1. So if we click enter and then we double tap, we are going to have 1 and April. Can you see 1 April? So Excel recognize this as 1st of April. So now that it has recognized it as 1st of April, we want to extract the month number from this 1st of April. Do you understand? We want to extract the number from this 1st of April. Now, we want to extract not the number, we want to extract the month number. So it should give us what? 04. So what are we going to do? We are now going to use the month function. The month function extracts what? Extract the month from a date value, right? So we are going to come here before this where we have 1 and April. So we just come here and type in month function, open the brackets, then close the bracket here after the left. So let's double tap and then we should have 04. Can you see? We did it. We did it. Okay. So now that we have our month, our day, our year, then let us combine it together into a full date column. So type in date, right? So let's make it a full date. Equal sign, date, open bracket. What is year? This, right? What is the month? This. What is the day? This. Then we close the bracket. Of course, this one's will return error. So let's embed it into if error function, so that it's just going to return empty cell if it's going to be an error. You know, the ones that are empty here would give error. So that is why we are doing that. Close the brackets, then double tap. Let's double tap, let's double tap, let's double. So what happens? We have our date in serial number. I do not want serial number. So let's just make this, let's convert this to let's make this text, right? Open brackets, then let us change the format to what? MMDDYYYY. You understand? So what happened? Let's see. Okay, we are supposed to close the text function here. So let's double tap. What do we have? We have our full date. But I'm seeing something here. We are having 1st of May 2022 instead of 31st of April. Okay, okay. April is actually 30 days of September. April, oh, April is actually 30. April actually ends at 30. So, and in this data we're having 31. So that is why Excel moved it to the next valid date, which is 1st of May. Should we correct it or should we leave it like, let's just leave it like that so that our effort will not go to waste. But you understand how we are able to actually extract the day here, the month here, and the year from this place, okay? So probably it's a data entry error and the person wanted to enter the last day in April or the first day in May and made a mistake. So I just need to go with what Excel has given us here. You understand? But the right thing to do is to actually ask questions, right? We'll ask the data provider, what is wrong here? What should we correct? Let's make everything into a single column. Do you understand? Let's make everything into a single column so that we just have one column and then we are good to go. So we're just going to say that if this is empty, what should you do? If it is empty, go and give me this one, you understand? Otherwise, give me this so that we can have all the dates in one single column. So let's close the brackets, click enter. Yeah, so let's double tap and see what we have. Okay, so I think everything looks good now. Can you see? It looks good. So let's copy and paste as values. Copy and paste as values. Now that we have done that, let's just get rid of this one so that we are good to go. Okay, so let's look at what we have here. Can you see everything is looking good? Looking good so far. So I think so far we have been able to solve problems that are actually similar across these sheets, right? And then the rest of the problems will probably be unique to each of the sheets. Let's check this sheet 3, for example. Sheet 3 has this kind of issue. Can you see something like this? Sheet 4 has something like this issue that is not consistent in other sheets. So we have to solve them individually. But so far so good. We've been able to do all this at the same time, and we're able to solve all these similar problems across sheets at the same time, and it has saved us a lot of time. Okay, the only thing we have to do is to go into the individual sheets and then have to deal with other issues that are not similar to others one after the other. Do you understand? Now for this one, I actually noticed that Excel filled up our empty cells and gave it default dates. Do you understand? It did that, but I want it to remain empty so that when we take it back to the actual data, the full data, we can actually check for a trend in other columns and use that to correct the dates. So we are going to see how we will do that moving forward. But first off, let's return these empty cells here. So how do we do that? Remember that it's also consistent across this sheet. There are also other empty cells that Excel filled up for us. So let's work with that. So how do we do that? I would say that if this is empty, which is what is meant to be, then return empty. Otherwise, return this. Do you understand? So that's what we are going to do. So we are going to say that equal sign if this is, if open bracket, this is what? This equals empty. Then return what? What should you return again? Return this, right? Otherwise, return this. Close our bracket, we click enter, and then we should have our date with the empty cells. Why is it returning 0 for me? Did I ask it to return 0? What did I ask it to return? We should return this. So let's just say return empty then. Because I did not send it to return 0 for me. So return empty. So let's double tap and then we should have it. Yeah. So we have our empty cells now. So let's check the other sheet to see if they've been affected as well. Can you see? Sheet 4. Anything here? Okay, this does not have empty cells, so we are good. So let's do sheet 5. Some empty cells are here as well. Okay, so the last thing we are going to do is let us copy this, paste this as values so that we have only values. Then give it, okay, let's do this again. Oh, sorry. So let's copy this, then paste as values. Good. So we now have them as values, and then we can get rid of this one. Okay, so what next? I am going to deselect everything so that I'm just selecting each sheet one after the other. So I used shift key, then just selected this. That was what I did. Now I want to check each of the sheet to see if there are any other issues that I was unable to solve as a whole, and then just deal with them very quickly. Okay, this one is currently looking okay. Let's go to the next one, sheet 3. What is the issue here? This one. Okay, now this one is just this one here. There is really no other one that has this kind of issue. Even in the other sheets, there is really no one that has the kind of issue. So I don't think I'll stress myself to actually write function. But if we're going to use function, let's say for example, we actually have lots of values that look like this. We can use our right function to extract the year, use our left function to extract the day, and use our mid function to extract the month, and then concatenate it with one, and just get your full date. That is possible. But since this is just a value, it's just one value having these issues, I can just manually correct it and nobody will beat you. You're still saving a lot of time, because writing the function will still take your time. But since it's just one value, we can just easily correct that manually. So which is what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to come here and then take this off. So I'll change this to 12/12/2019, and it's okay. Can you see? So is there any other issue here? No. So let's go on to sheet 4. What is the issue here? Sheet 4 has this serial number date with another unusual serial number, and then again this is the only one having that issue here. So I'm just going to save myself some time and just take this off and leave the actual serial date here. So I'm going to do it for this one like this. Okay, now this serial date is meant to actually be a date, right? I want it to be expressed the way these ones are expressed. I want it to be formatted like this ones. Okay, so I can just easily come here and say, okay, let me type in the text function and say text, convert this to a date. Or I can save myself some time and just come here and then change it to a short date. But I would not do that, because I do not want to use formatting. I just want it to have, I want to use function so that when I copy the values and paste it somewhere else, it does not automatically change to serial number again. So I'm just going to save myself that future headache and just format this as it should be. So I'm just going to come here, text function, this value is just this one. If it was not only this one, we'll probably just use another column, drag it down and all of that. So format this as what? mm/dd/yyyy. Then we'll close the bracket and click enter. And you see that it has changed and we are good. Okay. No, now sheet 4 looks good. Let's look at sheet 5. What is going on here? Is there any issues? Sheet 5 is very, very sweet. It's not even stressing us at all. Sheet 6, what is going on? Any issue here that we've not solved? No, it's looking clean so far. Sheet 7, what is going on here? Now sheet 7 has a little bit of more discrepancies. We're having something like late March 2023. That means this person did not specify when the follow-up visit was done. The person probably just remembered that it should be around late March. But we cannot afford to have late March in our column. We actually want it to be a valid date value. So what do? We are going to solve this when we actually merge the entire data set together. So we are going to look at trend from other columns based on our understanding of the data to fill up this late March. And then we're also going to do the same thing for the empty values as well. You understand? Now, the correct thing to do is actually to ask the data provider to say, okay, maybe you are the healthcare specialist responsible for this data. What is the problem? What can I use to fill in these empty cells? What can I use to do that? But do you understand? But peradventure, we do not have the healthcare data provider and there is no one to ask questions. Then we can now use our analytical thinking skills, go check for trends in the other columns, and they use that to actually make calculated assumptions for these empty cells. Or we just leave it blank. Okay? So late March, early June, same thing. We are going to be doing the same thing. We're going to be solving them the same way. Okay? So I'm seeing something like none. So what do? Let's just use our find and replace to actually get rid of this none, right? So I'm just going to select this column B, which is our new date, then Control F. I'm just going to find none and replace with nothing so that we can get rid of that. Okay, so replace all. All replacements have been done so far. Okay, so what else is wrong with the sheet 7? Aside from the late March, early June that we'll deal with where we combine the data, there is nothing else left. So we can see early February here as well, which is the same thing. Okay, same thing with what we want to deal with. So before we now combine the data, what I'm going to do is I want to make sure that the entire date is actually in the same format. It's actually MMDDYY. Why? Because some actually has dates before months, month before date. Some actually have the year first. So I just want to make sure that everything is aligned. So I'm going to be using the text function to do that. So I'm just going to, of course, highlight everything first so that we are not doing them one after the other. So select sheet 2, shift, select sheet 7. So everything is selected. Then I'll use the equal sign. Then I will do the text function. Then let's convert this to mm/dd/yyyy, right? Then we close the bracket. Let's see what we have. Okay, so it's meant to be what? MMDDYY, right? That means the month is meant to be the first one, then the day, then the year. So let's just scroll down to see what we have. Okay, so I can still see some that are adamant, right? For example, look at this one. This one still has what? This one still has DDM YYYY. The format is still different from the others. So let's check for that to see what we have. I think it's just that one for this one, right? Okay, this is 27/11. So we can see this one. So this one has 27/11/2024, right? So they are stubborn and we have to think of another way to get rid of them. So let's see the other sheet. Let's see if we have anything similar. Can you see this one too has 13/04/2024, right? Which is way higher than what it should be. You can see this one. Okay, these ones are correct. Let's check. Let's see what we have. So this one still looks okay. It has this too as well, right? So let's check sheet 4 and see what we have. Sheet 4, does it have anything like that? Let's see. Okay, so look at this one. This one is having something like 2020 13 2020 13. Look at this one. This one is even, having so much discrepancy. Can you see? This one now is year, month, and day, right? But it's not converting to what we wanted to convert to. So we have to think of a way to actually separate those that look like that from those that actually look like what we want. Separate those that have their first value higher than 12. If the first value is higher than 12, then they are actually day, month, year, right? We can't have a day that is, we can't have a month that is 13. We can't have a month that is 16, 27, and like that. So for the ones that actually have their first two values greater than 12, we want to separate them from the ones that follow the rule that we have laid down, right? For the ones that follow the MMDDYY rule. So the ones that do not follow that rule are the ones that actually start from values higher than 12, right? So let us use a function just to separate them. We want to just see them somewhere so that we can deal with them individually, right? So what are we going to do? We are going to say that if what? If the left of this, if the first two characters on the left, right? If they are greater than 12, then what should happen? Then just bring it for me. Otherwise, what should happen? Give me an empty value. Close the brackets and we click enter. What are we having here? We are having the same value returning. So I think it's not actually reading it because it's not seeing the first two characters as a number. Do you understand? So let's try to convert it to a number first so that I can read it as a number. So we're going to use the value function, VALU, right? Value. So we are saying you should check for the left value to see if it is greater than 12. Otherwise, return. If it is, return this. Otherwise, return empty, right? So let's click enter. It worked. So let's see if it worked for what we actually need it for. Can you see? This one is now out. Can you see? So we have used that to separate it. Good. What next? We'll start to deal with this one. So what I'm going to do in this case to separate the ones that have the year first from these other ones, right? So what am I going to do? I'm going to say that if the values, I'm going to say that if the number of characters before the delimiter, the first delimiter, is 4 or greater than 4. Let me show you what I'm talking about. If you look at this sheet 5, for example, look at the ones that have year. The number of characters before the first delimiter is what? Is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 characters, right? 2023 is made up of 4 characters. But we still have to consider something like this wrong year. This is how many? 5 characters. So we are going to say that in order to separate those type of issue from this one, we're going to say that if the length of the value before the first delimiter is more or equals to 4, then you should separate it for us. Otherwise, return blank. So what we want to do in essence is that we want to make sure that we have this one that has year. This one that has month, day, and year. We want to make sure that they are in a single column, and the ones that have year, month, and day are in another column. So what are we going to do? We are going to write our formula like this. First off, let me get rid of this one. I don't think I need this one anymore. Or let's get rid of this one. This one has the formula. So let us copy and paste as values first. I don't want us to get confused, so I want to get rid of one of this. So I'm just going to delete this one. Okay, so now that I have this, I am going to say that right from this, you know that this one already has taken those other ones with it. So I'm going to say that if the length of the characters by the left of what? By the left of this, right? Before the first delimiter. So how do we do that? We're going to use the find function to look for the position of the first delimiter, right? Find, open brackets. What are we looking for? We're looking for the first delimiter, comma, where? Here. And we close the brackets for the find, close the bracket for the left, right? And then we close the bracket for the length. So we are saying if the length, that means the number of characters before the delimiter, is what? Is greater than or equal to what? Equal to 4, comma, what should happen? Then give us I want us to reference C2 instead so that it is cleaner. So let's reference C2. If it is greater than 4 or equals to 4, what should we return? Then return this because we want to see it. Otherwise, return blank. Then we close the brackets and click enter. This one is giving us error. Why? Because it is empty. It's giving us value error. So let's embed this in the if error formula so that we can take care of that. So we're going to do if error So this is the value. So if error, then give us what? Give us black. Then we close the brackets, click enter. So let's bring it down. So now that we have separated this, the one that has this kind of issue from the one that has this kind of issue, now we can deal with them separately. But first I want to clean this column C. I don't want to see error, and I don't want to see this category of issue here. I only want this column C to contain the one that has the day, the month, and the year, right? That's what I want to do. So I'm looking at what is going on here, because it's basically 25th of 10 2016. So how did this turn to 16 of 10 2024? Let me see what is going on here. Okay, so it's looking like it's extracting the same value for me. Wow. Okay, so let's rewrite the formula very quickly. So I've written my formula again, and I think we are good. So looking at the other sheet now, you see it's good. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to make sure that this column C only contains the one that has this kind of issue, the day, the month, and the year, and column D contains the one that has a kind of issue. I don't want this column C to have more than this kind of issue, right? So I want to get rid of the errors, and I want to get rid of this one here. So what do we do to do that? So here I'm just going to say that if error, that means if it's going to return that value error, let's take care of the value error first. If this is going to return error, then just give me empty, right? We close that. So that should get rid of the value error. So let's check. Yeah, can you see the value error has gone? So what is left now is this one here. We want to make sure that this is not also included in this one's in this issue. Okay, so what we're just going to do is we're just going to say that this kind of category here, right? You know, this column contains the ones that have 20 something at the beginning, the year at the beginning. So we want to bring out the one that has only this one here, right? I don't want to do it inside this formula again so that I don't confuse you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to write another statement, okay, and this time I'm going to say that if it has 2 characters before the delimiter, okay, but I'm going to be referencing this column. I'm not going to reference this one, because if I reference this one, it's also going to extract all these other ones for me. I'm going to reference this one here. So what am I going to do? I'm going to just copy this. I literally need this here, because what I want to do is I want to say that if the length of the left before the delimiter is equals to 2, we're going to say equals to 2. But if you say greater than or equals to 2, it will still pick that one, because that one is literally greater than 2, right? So we don't want to do that. So we are going to keep it at what? At equals to 2. So we're just going to change this to we're going to copy this column D. Let me just name this here so that you will see what I'm talking about. This is one that initially had dd/mm/yyyy, and it has both, and yyyy/ I think mm and /gg. This one has both, right? So we now extracted this one from it. We extracted yyyy/mm/dd from it. Okay, now this one we now want to extract only dd, mm, yyyy from this. Okay, so that's what we want to do. This one does not have any value in this sheet, because this sheet does not have that kind of issue. but still we've highlighted everything so that we can be on the safe side. So let's now copy this formula. Or have I copied it already? Let me see. Let me paste. Okay, I've pasted it. So I want to reference this one, right? Which is done, and I want to say that if the character on the left before the delimiter is what is equals to 2, if the count of the character is equals to 2, then give me this, otherwise give me empty. And I already added the if error to take care of the value error for those that are empty. Okay, so enter, then let's double tap and see what we have. Okay, this is currently not giving us what we want. It's not okay, equals to 4. It's supposed to be equals to 2. Okay, so let's see what we have now. Double tap. We still are not having the value. Okay, so what exactly is going on? If the length of the left is equals to 2, right? So let's find out what's going on. Let's change this to 3. Okay, so I'm going to change this to 3 if it is equals to 3, right? So equals to 3, that's, when Excel is counting, it will find the position of the first slash, which is the third one, right? So we are saying if the length of the characters before the third one, but we didn't actually say before because we didn't do -1. We just looked for the position of the slash, which is 3. So it's going to check if the length of the value before the slash is equals to 2. In this case, to Excel is not equals to 2, it's equals to 3. So that's what is going on. So let's change this to 3. Okay, so if you change this to 3, I will click enter, then we double tap like this. What do we have? Can you see? We now have it. So we now have the DDMMYY here and then the YYMMDD here. So let us copy both and paste as values so that we can get rid of that one. Copy, then we right click and then paste as value. So make sure it's invalid. Okay. Let me highlight it like this. Also shift down. Okay, so copy this, then let's right click and paste as values. Right click, paste as values. If it does not accept, we just this one after the other. Okay, it accepted it. So let us just delete these ones. We don't really need them right now, right? But let's just get rid of this one. We might need this column B. So I'm just going to get rid of this one. I've gotten rid of this one, so we now have this and we now have this to deal with. So let's start by dealing with this one. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually separate both, then rejoin. So let's start with DDMMYY, but before then let's check on the other sheet to see that they are on the same page with us. Okay, I think they are, especially this one. Let's check on this one especially. Okay, I think, yeah, can you see? So we are actually good to go. So let us now start a split and rejoin. So this one will go to the data tab, then split. But because it's highlighted 3 sheets at the same time, I mean 6 sheets at the same time, it's not going to allow us to split. So we have to split one after the other. Okay. So I'm just going to deselect everything. So let's start with this one. Let's split text to column. Delimited next, then order, right? Then we put slash and then we finish. So this has separated it for us, right? So I'm going to do the same for this one as well very quickly. I'm going to do the same for others as well very quickly. So I have now splitted them into separate columns and I have the D, the M, the Y. So now I can now reselect everything at once, like so. So let's join them together. So here we now have the full date. So let's have the dates, right? Let's have the full date. So we can now do the date function. Select the year, which is this one. Select the month, which is this one. Select the day, which is this one. I close my brackets, I click enter. This one will give me error because it's empty. So let's manage the error. Just use if error, then just give let's say if error, then give this one, right? So that we can have the ones that are actually valid here plus this one as well. We can just save ourselves some time. So if it's an error, give me this one back because this one is actually valid, right? This one already has month, day, year, which is the format that I want. Do you understand? So if error, give me this, otherwise it's going to be giving me a combination of this. So let's close the bracket and see what we have. If error, give me this, right? So when I close the bracket, I click enter, I have that one. Let's see what others gives us. Let's bring it down. Yeah, can you see that this one already has given me what I want, but the way it's positioned is different. So let us try to put them in, a text formula, okay, just to be on the safe side. So let's say text here, just do text formula, text function, open brackets, so then convert this to what? Convert this to here, we are putting it here right before the if error. Convert it to mm/dd/yyyy. So let's do that for this one. This is for the actual one that we are trying to combine, right? Now for the one that we are not trying to combine, we are going to do the same thing. Let's see what happens. Text, open brackets, that's if error, right? If error, then convert whatever you have here, okay? So if error, text, open brackets, this value, then convert it to mm/dd/yyyy. Then we'll close the brackets for the text and close the bracket for the if error. What is the problem? Okay, there's no comma here. Also add a comma here. Then you click enter. So we have that, right? Let's see others. Okay, can you see now that they are well aligned now, the way we want them to be? So now we have been able to solve this one plus this one. So the only thing that is left is for us to now solve whatever is here. Okay, but before then, I am going to just get rid of this one so that we don't get confused. We are done with this one. So I'm just going to copy, then I'll paste as values. Right click, paste as values. Okay, now I have this one. Remember that this one is a combination of this and this, right? What we have left is this one, but we really don't have this one in this sheet here, but we have it in sheet 5. So let's see how sheet 5 is doing. And you see that it has done that as well. But for the ones that have DDMM, it has also picked them for us. Why is it picking them for us? Oh, I already copied and pasted as values. I won't be able to see what is going on. Let me do Control D. Oops. Okay, I think I have my formula back. Okay, so let me see sheet 5. Let me see what sheet 5 is trying to do. Okay, so why is sheet 5 returning this one? Did we reference C? Oh, okay, so we asked it to bring this one. Remember that we combined it together. What do we do? Let's not combine it yet, right? Let's not combine it yet. Or should we say that if this is empty? I don't want us to complicate the formula so that it's not confusing. So what we can do is note that it's going to return error if it's empty, right? Let's not combine it yet. So let's just deal with this one and leave it like that. Do you understand? So I'm just going to get rid of this. I'm going to get rid of this one. So if error, don't return anything, just return empty. Do you understand? So I think, yeah, let's do this. Let's see what we have now. So what we just need here is just the combination of this one. So let's check on sheet 5. This is the only thing that I want. Do you get? So now let's copy and paste as values again. Let's copy and paste as values, and then let's get rid of these ones here. We don't need them. Do you understand? So I'm just going to delete them like this. I've done that. So now the next thing is to extract this one, but it's really not in sheets. It's not in sheet 2, but let's still do it so that it can apply to everything at once. Do you understand? So, or let me see. It's here. Can you see it's here? So let's just do everything at once. So I'm going to split them, but remember that I can't split everything at once, so I have to deselect everything. Okay, so text to column, finish. So they've been splitted. We did the same to others as well. Text to column. I've already specified the delimiter initially, so that's why I'm skipping all this. Finish. Then sheet 4, text to column, finish. So I've been able to split everything now. So what I'm going to do next is just to combine it together, right? So let's highlight everything and let's combine this date together. So let's call this date 2. This date 2. So we are going to do equal sign date formula. The year is here, right? The month is here and the date is here, and we know that this one will return error, right? Because it is literally empty. So we are going to just, okay, let me close this first. So we are going to just embed it in the if error formula. So if error, then just give us what? Give us empty. So click enter, then we double tap. So that should combine the other one that has this kind of issue for us, the one that has YYMMGD. So let's see what we have here. Okay, this one converted it to serial number. So let's quickly take care of that. Let's put it inside the text formula. So let's put it here, right? Text, open bracket. So before the date, right, we are converting it to mm/gg/yyyy, right? We close it, comma. So let's close the text function, close this as well. Okay, click enter. So let's double tap to see what we have. Look at sheet 3. Do we have can you see it's back to a date, a full date, 8th of February 2027. Do you understand? So let's see this one. This one does not have any issue like that. Let's see sheet 5. Let's see. Okay, sheet 5 should extract it for us. Okay, fantastic. Can you see what we have? Although this one is not combining yet. You know, this one that has extra value at the year is not combining. It's not combining yet. So what we're just going to do is we are going to correct this here so that we can, be relieved of our headache. So what are we going to do? What am I going to do? I'm just going to go and trace this in the actual data to get the real year. So that's what I'm going to do, just to save us a lot of headache and time. So let me search for this here. Not find care. Okay, let's just search for this. Find. Okay, this is it. So the day of discharge was 10th of November 2023. So that would mean that this also would be 2023. Follow-up visits comes after discharge, right? So this has to be 2023. So let's go and correct that value to 2023. Good. Can you see that we now have what we have here? Okay, so I think we are good now. I think we are good now. Let's see sheet 6. Sheet 7. Looks good as well. Right? This one also has this, so we'll change this to 2023 as well. Okay, so we are good. Right now we have date 1. We have this date, then we have date 2, which is what we actually need. Now the next thing to do is to combine them together, right? So let's combine date 1 and date 2 together. So we want to combine date and date 2 together, so that we can have this and this on a single file before we now add whatever is okay here, right? That's what we want to do. So what are we going to do? We are just going to use the equal sign. We are going to say that if this one is empty, right? If this is equals to empty value, then what should we return? Return this, right? Otherwise, return this. So let's close it and see what we have first. We click enter and then we double tap. Let's see, has it combined it for us? So scroll down. This one actually does not have all those issues. So let's check sheet 5 and see what we have. Oh, we didn't highlight everything initially. Oh, sorry. You guys did not tell me. Okay, so let's highlight this one, then all the way to this one. Okay, so now let's combine, right? Equal sign if this one is empty, then give me this one, right? Otherwise, give me this one. So let's see what we have first. We close the bracket, click enter, then I double tap. Let me see what I have. Okay, let's check on sheet 5. What do I have in sheet 5? Does it look like what I want? Can you see? Yes, it has combined this and this together. Can you see what we have? So we've now successfully combined them. Now let us copy and paste as values so that we can delete this. If we do not delete this before we copy and paste as values, we are going to have reference error, and we don't want that. So we'll copy this, then we'll right click and paste as values. So I can now delete these ones because I don't need them anymore. Okay, so what I have done right now is I have already solved the date that has the DDMMYY issue and the YYMMDD issue. So let's name this solved date. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to combine the solved date with the date that actually is good, the date that is good in this column B. So anyone that has empty cell here is good here. That's also what we're going to do. So we want to combine this and this. We want to combine column C and column D together. So how are we going to do that? We're going to say that if this one is empty, then return this one. Otherwise, return this one. That's all. Close the bracket and click enter. That's returned this one. Right? So let us actually embed everything in the text formula, but let's see what we have first. Let's see if anything looks different. Let's see. Okay, I think it's good. Yeah, that's combined it for us. So this is now the new dates, the actual real dates. New new dates, not new real, new dates. Let's see what we have here. Can you see combined? Sheet 5 successfully combined. Okay, so now we do not need this anymore. We do not need this as well, but first let's copy and paste as values. Copy and then paste as values. Have we done that? Good. Then we can You can now get rid of these ones here. Okay, so it's still, I don't think it's stored as dates yet in Excel. See, so let us convert it to an actual date again using the text formula, or we can just highlight it and change this to date. But I don't like to rely on this format. So let me just use the text formula. I'm just going to say text. Text, or let's convert it to date value. Let's see, if we convert it to date value, maybe that would give us what we want. Yeah, okay, let's now convert it to a date. Okay, I think this is what we want. This works. Everything should be converted to date now. This date value and empty space, let's manage it quickly. So if it's an error, then return empty cell for us, right? So let's use that to take care of that, and let's see what we have taken care of. So now that we have this new date, let's just copy this and paste it here as values. They will just, this one has gone, but let's get rid of it properly. Okay, so this is our new date, and this is the date that will be going into our data. So finally, we are going to combine our data. Okay, we are going to combine our data, and we're going to have an actual full data. So we are going to take care of all these empty cells, right? We're going to take care of these empty cells and this late match. Can you see all this late match, whatever that we have here? But first, let's combine the data into one almost cleaned data. Okay, so how do we combine that? First, we need this one here. We need all of this up to this point, right? So I'm just going to copy this and put it in a new sheet entirely. So let's put it here. Let's call this sheet our cleaned data. So this is where our cleaned data would be. Cleaned data, right? So the next thing is to bring all the dates here. So this is date of admission. This is the, okay, let me just highlight all of this and actually copy the date of admission here, or the actual dates here. I mean the actual column header here. So let's copy this and paste it here so that it's easy to identify. So let's go back to our clean dates. Now we want to bring all the dates here. We want to bring the date here, the date in sheet 2 to this place, the date in sheet 3 to this column here. So we are just bringing everything basically. So to do that, we are going to use a function called the hstack function. Okay, how do we write that? We use the equal sign hstack. Then we are going to highlight the very first one from here all the way down, comma, highlight the second one from here all the way down, comma, highlight it, all the way down, that's sheet 3, right, comma, the sheet 4, select this one, highlight all the way down, sheet 5, select this one, highlight all the way down, sheet 6, select this one all the way down, and sheet 7, select this all the way down. We close the brackets and we click enter. Can you see that we have our dates? Even though they are stored as serial number, we can always change the format, but we have our actual date now. So I want to expand this. Okay, now what next? To deal with the format, we can just come here and let's try to embed this into the text. I would have said we should embed it, but because of this ones here, they're actually text, so we don't want them to be affected. But let's try, let's see what we have. Text function. So I want to format to what? right? /dt/yyy. Okay, let's see what we have. They worked. Okay, so this remains general. This also looks like it's actually general as well, but it has changed the format. Okay, so when we have pasted as values, we can now make sure that all of this, as a matter of fact, even if we don't embed it into the text formula, we can always come here and change our formatting. I just wanted to try that. Okay, so what next? Let's see, do we have our clean data ready? We have our data in the format that we want. However, we still have some blank cells, and we still have these ones that actually have something like late March, late February. I think there's late February somewhere around here. So we need to actually fix that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to for sheet 7, only sheet 7 has all this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to extract this into this as well, so that this sheet 7 has the late March, early June date here. Why? Because I want to go and solve it in my actual data, okay, my final data, and I'll tell you why I'm doing that. So what can we do to actually extract this? I'm just going to use my if formula. Why does this one not have a value? This is 2023. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this to save me time. So I'll just copy this here. Then I'll just remove this. I'm just going to manually change this to 2023. That's been updated. So if you look at it here, my clean data, you'd see that this has also been updated, right? That's why I didn't try to remove the formula at first. I want whatever I do here to also reflect here first. So all this late March, early June, let's now try to bring them into this place. So I'm just going to use my formula to say that if this one is empty, if this is equals to empty, then give me this. Okay, otherwise give me this. I just want to have everything in one. So what it's going to do for me is it is going to return all these ones for me here, and even the empty values, it will return it here for me as well. So let us do that. Click enter. Let's embed it into the text formula. Or is there any need? We already have it in the general sheet, so I guess this one will take care of it. So there's no need to stress ourselves again. So let me just double tap this and let's see what we have, because we have late March for those ones. Okay, there's this one too that has this 2023 something here. So I'll just manually do. I'm manually doing it because it's just one. If it were maybe more than this, I would have actually thought of a formula, or maybe find and replace, or just think of a simple way to take care of it. There's another one here. Can you see? So let me just use find and replace to do that quickly. So I'm just going to select this one. I'm just going to do Ctrl F 2013. I want to replace it with what? 2023. You know why we're replacing it with 2023, right? We are following that pattern that we observed earlier, so I don't want us to go back to it again. So we're just going to replace all, right? 10 has been replaced. Okay, so that means we're actually even more than one. Okay, so I'm going to close this. All right, so look at what I have here. Can you see what I have here? The ones that are empty are returning 0. The ones that are totally empty are returning 0. I don't want that 0. I want empty. So let us take care of that and say that if, so value if false would be if this one is empty, then it should also return empty as well. Value if false, otherwise return this b2. So let's close the bracket and click enter. Then we double tap. So let's see what we have. Let's see what we have. For those that are empty, they are still returning 0. What's going on with our formula? What do you think? Okay, let's check again. Now let me just rewrite it to make sure that we are actually following the right process. So we want it to return this if this is empty, right? So if this is equals to empty, then return this, right? So the problem with this, I just clicked what was going on earlier. So the problem is that Excel actually reads from the left to the right. It performs the arithmetic operation or works with the formula from the left to the right. So whatever we do here has the most power, right? So if we come here and we add, if this is empty, return this, and then we are now coming here to now say if this is empty, then return this again. Excel has already read this, so no matter what you do, it's still going to continue to return this expression that you have here, the result of this expression that you have here. So I guess that is why it did that. So what are we going to do now? We are going to start with this part. We are going to start with this left part. We are going to say that if this one is empty, then return empty. Okay. The next logical statement would be if why is my cap lock not working? I like writing my formulas in capital letters. Don't know what's wrong with my cap lock. Anyway, say caps lock. So if logical test, right? If this one then is empty, then it should return this one. So let's try that. So otherwise, return this B2. Okay, so we'll close the brackets and then we click it. Too many arguments. Let me see. This is the value if false. But we already provided the value if false. There's no need to. So if, let me take it again, if A2 is equals to empty, then return empty, right? Otherwise, if B2 is equals to empty, then return A2. Then how will it return B for us? Let me use the ifs formula. This if wants to blow my mind. Okay, so let's say ifs this is equals to empty, comma, give me what? Give me empty, right? Otherwise, but I've already entered value if true now. Oh, empty, comma, give me empty. Then another logical test. If this is equals to empty, what should you return? Then return this, right? Another logical test, which is, oh, we can't do that. We can't actually do this one. Do you know why? Because we are saying that if this is empty, return empty. At the same time, we want to say that if this is empty, return this one, which is totally fine. But the last logical statement, which should have been if this is empty, right? I mean, if this is not empty, then return this, or return this one as well. Or we should still be able to write it now. I hope I'm not confusing you guys. So let's say that if, let's try again, if this then is empty, I already said if it is empty, she return this one. Okay, let me say if this is not empty. Do you understand? If this is not empty, so let's do if it is not empty, then return this one again for me. I don't know if this would work. I just want us to try. So let's close the brackets and click enter. Is it working? Is it working? Is it? Did it work? It worked! It worked. So it actually did work. Okay. Kudos to us. So we have this now, right? And then we already have what we want to return here. So let's check on our clean data. As it reflected? Let's see. It did not reflect the late March, early June. I think I know why. because we've not actually put it in the column that matter. You know that this clean data is referencing what B1 to B132, and what we already have right now that we need is actually in C, so we have to put this here. So what I'm just going to do is I am just going to copy and paste our values. Yeah, you guessed right. So Control Shift down, going to copy, then I will just come here, right click and paste as values. Paste as values. Did it paste as values? Yes, it did. Okay, so because this column B already had like an underlying format, so it's already initially formatted as a date, that is why it automatically changed the format. So in case you're worried about that, so let's delete this one, we don't need it anymore. Let's see if it has now reflected in our clean data. Now you're talking. Good. So what is left for us to deal with right now is the late March whatever and the empty cells. Yeah, so how do I intend to fill up this empty cells and this late March and all of that? I'm going to look at trends in the data, and I'm going to use that to fill up these empty cells. If you want to find out how I do that, how I'm going to use my analytical thinking skills and attention to detail to solve this problem, you're going to watch out for my next video. It's going to be a short video, by the way. I'm going to use that to just explain how I'm able to do this. The reason why I will not be doing it in this video is because this data is fictional, and there are a little bit of discrepancy between the date of diagnosis, the date of treatment start. For example, you are seeing date of treatment start, date of diagnosis 2024, you are seeing date of treatment start 2016, which is not in any way correct, right? You cannot diagnose 2024 and then start treatment in 2026. It was designed to help us learn how to clean data that has stubborn date columns, and that is what we have achieved. So in my next video, I'll walk you through how I was able to solve this problem, this missing values and inconsistent values problem, using a much more structured data. All right, so if you watched to this point, kudos to you. You've done really well. Make sure to like, subscribe, and then share this video with your friends. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.